What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. In today's episode, we have a new engine for the Mini Cooper, and we finally start this project by tearing it down. So sitting here looking at this R1 engine, if you guys can see this, everything here looks pretty clean. It looks like it was well kept. I don't know if I said this in an earlier clip, but the owner, he had wrecked his bike, laid it down, so he was just getting pieces off of it that he had cracked, and then I got this engine itself for 200 bucks. All of our valves are turning just fine, so there's nothing really wrong. What we need to do, though, we're gonna have to get a new valve cover, put the gasket in there, timing chain cover, finish up the covers here on the trans, and then I think for the most part this engine's going to be good to go. I know that it doesn't have spark plugs and whatnot, so we're going to want to do all the proper tests on it. But this thing here is just slightly bigger than my foot. Okay, so it's just comparison right there, and this is the engine bay that is going to be going in. So if we take my shoe, yeah, we're going to have good amount of room in there. Granted, I do know that we have to put in the exhaust, we're gonna have to put in the radiator, some other things like that, but this thing doesn't run air conditioning, so it's gonna be fairly spacious in there. I did realize recently, and why I didn't notice this before, I have no idea, but there is not a subframe in this vehicle. A lot of the kits that I've been looking at, they require a core charge to get their new subframe. Now I won't be able to do that, so I gotta pay a little bit of extra, but it's not horrible, it's not the end of the world. I actually think this is gonna be a very quick build once we start getting everything in here. So right now we have the Mini completely up off of the ground. We're gonna be taking the wheels off, and then we're going to be checking out the brakes. We're probably gonna just go ahead and pull the whole brake system out, as well as the suspension, because I wanna update all that when we put the R1 engine into there. We definitely need to make sure that this thing has better stopping power than what it did before. Some of these Minis, they have drum brakes in all corners. This one here specifically has rotors up front from what it looks like and drums in the rear. A lot of people will upgrade to the rotors in the front, which may have already happened on this once, because I think at this year it's kind of iffy. 67 to 68, there were some changes made, but in the back, a lot of people will go to rotors. I'm trying to go to rotors all the way around. I think that's best. Go with a bigger brake setup. I don't know if we're gonna go with something UK or maybe something Willwood. We'll have to see, but for right now, we gotta break into this and just start stripping everything down. Right now, we're having an issue getting two of these lugs off. If you look, one, it's completely shaved down through there, so there's not even anything for us to grab onto. The other thing is, I can turn it by hand, but that's the outer casing, not the actual lug itself. If we look at this one here, the bottom here kind of separates away, and then same with the top. It's like a multi-piece lug. This here is just a cap that goes on it, and it's ground out on the outside and apparently on the inside to the point where this whole thing is just spinning. So we got one of the lugs off here. As you can see, this is it without the cap on. What I had to do is I had to take this flathead screwdriver and I hammer it here into the center, and all I started doing is just working it around until I was able to actually pry this cap off. So on the outside, this thing was what, Nate, a 19? Mm-hmm. So underneath, when I put the actual wrench on it, this thing is like a 17. So that was it. We were able to get that thing off there. I let this soak with a little bit of WD-40 for a little bit. This here was not wanting to budge, and now it's coming out pretty easy. So we can see if we can try and get this drum off. Oh, I need to, guess, release the e-brake to make that happen though, don't I? All right, there we go. Ow! Becky, I hit my head!
Oh my god, no way!
Oh, I think I broke it!
Oh my god, you're not gonna be able to go to prom!
And I was looking forward to dancing with Tommy!
Oh no!
There's the rear drums off of this here. We removed the screw, and all I had to do was keep wiggling it, and it eventually came off of this. Up front, we have our rotor system. You can see that this looks drastically different than what you have on your modern rotor, where it slips over the hub and mounts into place. This here actually looks like it's part of the hub. Another thing that I found kind of interesting that hopefully you guys can see is this is the upper suspension that's wobbling around because it has a bolt in there that looks like it may have been too big or was never tightened. So that's always awesome. What we're gonna do is take these calipers here off. I'm gonna be upgrading all of this, so we're just gonna go ahead and yank this stuff out. You guys can see right here, at one of the locations in which we stored this thing before we got our house, some ants decided to build a home around the back of this wheel, and that's some of the leftover residues, so,
You think the ants are still in there?
Oh no, I would assume like 15% sure that they're not.
What?
15%, that's not how percents work? It's not the lower the percent, the better the option?
No.
Okay. Guess we're gonna have to find out then. There we go.
Okay.
It's off. Yeah. Yep. All right, there we go. That's it. Just got back from AutoZone. I had to pick up a 34mm socket to try and get off the spindle nut, and we did. So Nate's gonna roll in there and see if we can pull all this apart. And here we can see how nasty all this is from the ants and stuff that had lived up inside the thing. Got the rear suspension out here. We had a 14mm, right?
Yeah.
14mm nut here on the back. Then up top here in the trunk, you can actually see, if I drop this, up there in the corner is our shock tower. Well, you'd be able to see it if there wasn't a glare and it wasn't pitch black in there. But trust me, it is in there. It's another 14mm nut up there. Once you have this one off, all you have to do is kick this, the arm drops, and you're able to slide it on out. So we've got all the suspension apart. We have the brakes apart on this. Right now, I think that's about where we're gonna stop. We're going to start hopping online, seeing what all that we can get for this. I know for the classic minis, they've said that you have to be careful because in the US, if this was titles at a 68, but in England it was in 67, then there's different sizes and stuff that is needed. I don't know if that'll make a difference with this one since it's a Japanese spec and that's where it came from and that's where it was registered, but we'll find out. Brakes are off, suspensions are off. Other than that, I think we're kind of done. In the next video, I don't really know what's gonna happen. I do apologize. There's been long gaps in between when I've been posting videos. I've been so busy with RTR and the RTR stuff and running the RTR YouTube page. So if you guys have not been watching my channel that much and you still miss me, go over and you can check out stuff on RTR vehicles. Until the next time, this is Nate.
Hey.
I'm Jordan, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.